Hello, everybody. So, welcome. This is my first time doing a live session, so it's gonna go all full blown, no editing. So I apologize beforehand for any bloopers or any M's I might have along the way. Thank you so much again for joining and for the support that you've been given to the channel. So we're a couple of minutes early. So what I want to do is just simply to test the audio, make sure that everyone is hearing me fine. I actually have two microphones here. One is for the computer, and then the other one is for the camera, just to make sure that everyone can capture everything I'm saying or sharing with you today. So if you are hearing me fine, great. Just feel free to enter your comment in the chat. Just hit yes or just a thumbs up, just to give me an indication that you can all hear me clearly. Okay. All right. So good. Great. Audio. Perfect. Hi, Deirdre. I hope I'm not butchering your name. So I'm trying to see close into the computer. Hello. So Jay, hey Jay. So I'm giving everyone a couple of minutes more. Perfect. Ice Josh. Thank you for confirming. Hi, Samba. Great stuff. So just give it a few more minutes before everybody to join. It's exactly 1. So great stuff. Awesome. All right, so let's get started. Welcome everybody one more time. Thank you so much for your support in the channel. We actually launched the channel earlier this year, and I can't believe how much it has grown. And it's all thanks for the support that all of you have been giving me throughout these couple of months. And just a couple of housekeeping items. I did receive a couple of questions that were submitted to me via email, and some of you guys actually left some comments in the chat box as well. So the way we're going to do this today is I'm going to go through the questions that were submitted beforehand. That should take some time, between 15 to 20 minutes, hopefully. And then I'm going to open up the questions for any live questions that all of you have. And we'll have an hour today. Like I said, it's my first time doing this, so there's no editing involved. So I apologize beforehand if I'm butchering anyone's name, or I'm getting a little bit hung up because I have a lot of lights hitting my face right now. So it's sometimes it's a little hard to concentrate. So let's get started. The first question I actually received is from Christopher. And he is asking, how do you analyze deals? Do you always have to buy under market, or should you cash flow after expenses, being that the determining factor for you to decide whether you want to buy or not? And so my perspective and this, well, first of all, thank you for the question, Christopher. So my take is, if you're going to do this for investment purposes, then you should always cash flow. You definitely do not want to put yourself in a situation and where you buy a property and you're sort of like hoping for it to appreciate, and because you have no control over what's going to happen in the market. You could do research today and based on your decision on and informed decisions, and but you really have no control over what might happen tomorrow. You can only control what could happen today, and you don't want to put stress on top of your shoulders, having to deal with the management of your properties, maybe your day-to-day stuff that you have to take care of, or even your full-time job if you're still working full-time. And the last thing you want is just to add another debt on top of what you already have to take care of in order to get that. Appreciation should always be a plus in your decision making, but you should always cash flow. Now, the golden rule that I have is that you should cash flow at least $100 in your investment before moving forward. Otherwise, it's not really worthy of your time. But again, people think differently. Sometimes people have hopes that appreciation can happen along the way. And maybe if you buy it today, you will probably ride the roller coaster in hopes that maybe in next year or 2 years from today, you could potentially do a cash flow out of it and then maybe use that money to buy another property. But that's sort of like really, really risky. And if you're new into the process, I definitely do not recommend it. So definitely keep that in mind. Cash flow is king. Cash flow should always be the way to go. So thank you again for your question, Christopher. Then the next question I have that I received via email is from Ramesh. And I apologize if I'm butchering your name. So Ramesh, he's asking, any decent multifamily house in Minnesota starts at a minimum of $400,000. And 20% of that will be a down payment of $80,000. I do have $20,000 in savings. The question is, do I need to wait until I save the remaining $60,000, or is there an alternative to start my real estate? So thank you again for your questions. There are a couple of ways to go about this. So the first one is to consider a FHA loan. And for an FHA loan, you will typically need something between 3 to 5%, depending on the lender. And the one caveat with doing that, with using actually that type of funding, is that you're going to have to live in the property at least for 1 year. So you can, I'm not sure if the intent was to get a duplex or a triplex or maybe a 4-family. So what you can do is that you rent out whatever other units are, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, and then you have to reside in one for at least 1 year. And then you have the choice to refinance out of it, because the expectation is within 1 year, you have paid down some money with your mortgage payments. And at the same time, you will hope that the market has appreciated over the years and potentially give you some sort of like a cushion in terms of equity. And then you can actually use that to complement or to build up something that could be allocated as a down payment for the refinance out of it. So hopefully that sort of makes sense. It's a great strategy to get started. The second one, if you don't want to do the FHA round, is to leverage services like Fund and Grow, where they offer you the ability to apply for business credit. So in this case, business credit cards. And the beauty about it is that you will simply keep your debt, quote unquote, on the business credit card separate from your personal credit. So as you're taking money out, you are not putting your personal credit at risk of going down, because it's something that's kept separate in a different bucket. And they have actually helped multiple investors to achieve up to $125,000 in funding. So they're known for getting credit card applications approved to you by the bulk. And I think they do that in batches of like every quarter or so. I'm not sure if they actually changed their approach, but last time I checked, they do that every quarter or every 4 months, depending on your credit profile, because that has a lot to do with it. So that's one. And the third approach that I will recommend, but this is a little bit more advanced, will be to leverage some sort of creative financing. So you can actually put down whatever money you have saved and then ask the seller to carry the remaining amount of money that you would need for the down payment. So for example, in your case, you said you have up to $20,000 saved, and the required down payment will be $80,000 if you were to go through a traditional mortgage. That means you will need $60,000 as a difference. So the seller could probably put down that $60,000, and then you will work with the seller to put a promissory note in place. And if you don't know what a promissory note is, it's basically a contract, kind of like an IOU, where you're making a promise to repay that loan that was given to you. You've seen that in the banks. The banks give you promissory notes. You promise the bank that you will repay them back in 15, 30 years mortgages. That's basically what that means. So the terms, the interest rates, you're going to have to determine that with the seller. Typically, those are shorter terms. And what a lot of people like to do is that they do a 1 to 5 year financing for the first 5 years. So you do all payments throughout 5 years, and then the last payment is a balloon payment. So the first monthly installments are usually interest plus a little bit of like the principal, and then you do a balloon payment. And then if you're wondering how you're going to take care of that balloon payment, you could do it either fund and grow by taking a bunch of business credit cards, and or you can just simply refinance the existing equity out of the house at that point in time within 5 years, and then you just repay the seller in one lump sum. So hopefully that answered your question. And thank you again so much for asking that. The next question I have, it's from Samba. So Samba is asking, can you please talk about how to buy a house as a beginner? For example, you find a house or a deal online, how would you approach it from start to end of buying the house? Well, first things first, you need to do market research. If you're new, you get familiarized with what is it that you're really walking yourself into. So whether you're doing locally or you're doing it long distance, they're great tools that you can actually leverage. And some of my YouTube videos actually talk about that as well, where you leverage tools like Google Maps, you leverage Zillow, you look at the addresses, and then you just simply start looking in Google to see what's around the vicinity. And so that's one. That also depends on what is it that you're looking to do. Are you looking to wholesale? Are you looking to rent? Are you looking to flip any houses? So a lot of that will play some sort of like weight into your decision. And so if you want to rent, let's say, for example, to families that have children and stuff like that, you will want to make sure that the rental or the house that you're looking to flip is located near a good school districts. If you're looking for mainly rentals for just adults who have no children, or maybe people who are looking to get into a whole having roommate kind of living style, then you want to make sure that that setting or that property itself is nearby places where you can find jobs, because jobs is the key. If people don't have jobs, you won't be able to afford the type of lifestyle that you are actually providing with your rental. So that's one, educate yourself in that end. And once you're ready, if you want to start putting yourself out there, you can either try calling some postings and just simply say, hey, I'm a new real estate investor, and I'm actually looking at this property right here located in 123 Main Street, and I would like to learn a little bit about the logistics. Can you talk to me a little bit about the neighborhood? What's it like? What type of tenants you typically are looking in the area? Some people love to talk, so they will be happy to get on the phone with you and try to sell you the idea that this is the perfect investment, this is a great investment. And you just definitely take notes, take as many notes as you can and learn as much as you can. And another thing I would like to recommend you, Samba, is that you go to local RIAs. You can actually find them in meetup.com and just simply type local real estate clubs or local RIA, REIA, and then just show up. And if you're not confident at first, then just sit there and listen to what's it that people say, the information that you share. And then as you start getting comfortable, then start putting yourself out there, start introducing yourself. Always be honest. Don't make stuff up by saying that you're not sure or you're new. Just don't try to sound smart and intelligent. Just be honest. I don't know, but I would love to learn from you. You're my mentor. If that's okay with you, I will definitely like to either shadow you in exchange of my time. Always offer value for someone who it's given their time in exchange for a mentorship, because they are actually taking time away from their busy schedule to sort of like mentor you. So definitely take that into consideration, educate yourself in the subject. And then once you're ready, then you can start like looking into how to evaluate numbers and stuff like that. But that will be definitely a first step. And then the next question I have, the last question I received, Janice is actually asking for access to the spreadsheet. So I'm thinking you're probably talking about the mortgage payoff calculator. The link is actually provided to you underneath the video. Make sure you watch it again, because I've been getting a lot of emails from people who are asking for access to edit the spreadsheet. So you won't be able to get access to the spreadsheet, and here's why. Imagine 200, 300 people making edits into that sheet at the same time. Your calculations will be all wrong. You won't get the accurate number. You will probably either overpay or underpay your mortgages. And that's the reason why I decided to lock it and ask everyone to download an individual copy. Plus, I'm sure you would want other people to see how much money is it that you are owning, or how much money you actually borrow and your mortgage. So you'll definitely want to keep that information private for yourself. So make sure you watch the video again. I will provide the link after the live Q&A it's over down in the description below of this video as well, so you can access that. And once you access the spreadsheet, you will see instructions in blue. All you gotta do is just to go into file, and then just in the drop down, just select make a copy, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, and thank you for submitting it beforehand. And now I think that's basically all I received so far. So I'm going to go through the chat right now and see if anybody has any questions that would like me to answer. And feel free to just throw it out there. I will try my very best to answer everyone's questions. But if I do run out of time, I will make sure I get my team table your questions, and maybe either create another schedule, another Q&A session, or just simply create a new episode just to answer your specific questions so that everyone can benefit from it as well. So let me just go ahead and get through sorry, I'm learning how to use this mouse as well. So, okay, here, it's working now. Joe, hi, how are you doing? Do you get a loan for a fixer-upper, or do you get started, or how do you do to get, hold on, sorry, I probably need my glasses. Hi, how are you doing? How do you get a loan for a fixer-upper, or how do you get started doing that process? Great question, Jose. Thank you for asking that. So there are different type of loans out there. So they are the usual residential loans, and they're the commercial loans. So most of us are probably familiar with the residential loan. It's the one where you get the fixed interest rate for the next 15, 30 years. You either put somewhere between 3% down to 20% down, depending on whether you get a VA loan, which are 0, or an FHA, or just a traditional 20% down. But on the commercial side, those are actually very, very creative in itself. You will need to have an LLC. Because they won't lend you under your personal name, because of the simple fact that it's a commercial loan, so it needs to be treated as a business. So back a couple of months ago, I actually had an episode where I spoke to a patch of land, Hector Perez. He it's the mortgage broker for Patch of Land, and Patch of Land has different products as well. And Patch of Land is not the only one; they just happen to be the ones that I work with. But you're more than welcome to check on scottmanguy.com and look at other possibilities to connect with other mortgage brokers and other lenders as well for commercial loans. And there are loans where they actually finance the purchase of the property, and they'll also give you the amount of money that you need in order to do the rehab on it as well. So they finance the entire thing for you. But however, the numbers have to make sense. So before you even reach out to them, make sure you look presentable in person and on paper. Chances are you probably will not meet Hector in person, because he's all the way out. I believe he's in California. However, if you put yourself nicely on paper, meaning you work on your net worth, you create your financial spreadsheet, you have run the numbers to evidence that the deal that you're planning to finance is in fact a profitable one. So another thing that you have to consider is that for commercial loans, those are based on the income of the property. They don't care so much about you. They do care about your credit in a sense, because they need to back a person behind it. There has to be a face, someone who's making the mortgage payments to it in order to take care of the loan. But you definitely can reach out to Hector, go that route. I will table that as well and have my team actually include the link to the video itself, or you're more than welcome to go and find it right now if you're in a rush to actually get in touch with Hector. And but they Scottman Guy is definitely a great guy. It's a great tool for you to access. There is another video where I talk about Scottman Guy on a full-blown basis, so you can actually search for the list of lenders that are available in all 50 states. Okay, so hopefully that helps answer your question. The next one is Ice Josh. Do you have an umbrella LLC for all of your properties? So I'm not sure what you meant by umbrella LLC. If by umbrella LLC, Ice Josh, you're talking about having like a holding company and then a couple of different LLCs underneath that. If that's the case, yes, I do have one, but I will shy away in giving you any type of legal advice because I am not an attorney myself. So there's a say I always go by. If you're going to get advice from someone, it has to be always coming from the expert. So what I can do is to share a little bit about how I structure my deals in a way that it works for me. And then you can use this information and have an intelligent conversation with your team of attorneys or your real estate attorney in the area. But having an LLC, basically what it does is it provides you two kinds of benefits. One, it shields you from sort of like a lawsuit spreading through everything else. So let's say, for example, if you have a rental that it's owned under your name, and a tenant for whatever reason falls or like something happened in your property and decides to sue you, they can actually go after everything you have. And by that, I mean any savings, your cars, even your own home, because it's under your name. So you're giving them access to everything. Now, having an LLC, think of it as a bubble. So you're placing that property in itself into that bubble. They can sue the LLC and they will probably get access to something or maybe nothing into that LLC, but it's shielding you from exposing everything else that you own. So they could either win or lose, and but they won't be able to access anything else. Oh, and a third thing that I just thought of, typically if you put stuff under an LLC or anything that it's an illegal entity, it will sort of like scare away, we'll say, people that are looking for frivolous lawsuit. They just want an easy piece out. They don't want to go through all the difficulties of trying to get some money out of you. It's very similar to the video I talk about scammers. They always reach out to, or they always try to take on easy praise, quote unquote, because it's just easier. They're lazy people. They just want easy money. And if you're making it very comfortable, very difficult for them, then chances are they're not gonna try to like go after you. They'll just simply move on to the next easy person. Having that sort of like structure, it will be dependent on what you're trying to do. I know some people have land trusts and stuff like that they put the properties inside, but I'm not too entirely familiar with it. That's why I always try to like bring expertise into the channel and then just have them talk about it in itself. But that's as far as much as I know in terms of that. But you can definitely use this as a starting point to have those conversations. And you typically will want to use one of those like holding companies or umbrella LLCs for if you have a much larger portfolio, because an LLC costs money, and depending on the state that you open it, it can cost you something between $20 to like 100 and something, sometimes even 500 and 600 and something, and sometimes even thousands of dollars. So it all depends on the state that you're doing business at and where your property is actually located. But it's definitely a good starting point to have that conversation. So hopefully I was able to answer or help you clarify some of your doubts. Moving on to the next question. How do you apply for an LLC? So this is also from Ice Josh. You will have to speak to an attorney or to a CPA that have the power that can usually open that. So what I like to do, I like to go to title agencies and stuff like that. They usually have a attorney in-house that can help you with that, or just simply your accountant. Your CPA does have the authority to open an LLC for you. The next question, okay, I love dancing. Thank you for the monetary support. Thanks a lot. And I'm very happy that you value the content, and thank you for your support in the channel. And let's see, Karen, okay, so she retracted her message. I'm just gonna move on to the next one. Do you ever buy auction properties online or in person? So I haven't purchased any properties in auction, but I do know about people who have done it. So it will depend on the state that you're doing it, and it will also depend on the court that you're doing it. Some auctions you can do it online. Some you do it in person. So just to share you about an experience with my mortgage broker here, he was actually mentioning a deal that he helped someone sponsor exactly in an auction. So this person came in and had some part of the money down, but didn't have everything else. But he had this long relationship built with the broker at the time. And basically what they did is that he took the mortgage broker with him into the auction itself, and he bid against it. And then when he won, the broker knew exactly what he needed to do. He knew exactly the type of deal that he was helping his client get into. And he was able to get the funding within 24 hours and be able to close on that auction overnight. So definitely one thing that you have to consider. I haven't done it myself, so I wouldn't be the right person to speak to it, but I can definitely give you pointers if you shoot me an email, and I'll give you links on areas where you can actually find out more about that. And then, so the next one, Ken Beltrante. Hi, I would like to initiate lending while disabled and retire, own 80% equity with good credit. How to initiate process without a tangible income. I am not entirely sure what your question is. I'm just gonna go on an assumption here, and I think what you're asking is that you would like to apply for a loan without a job or without a tangible income. Okay, I think that's what you meant. And so one way to go about it is by having an LLC in place, and you run that LLC as a business. Remember, when you are going with a commercial loan, they basically care about the income potential of the business itself, and not so much about you as an individual, as a person. They care about you in terms of, we want you to make the payments, but they don't really care much about how much money you make, what's your debt to income ratio, or anything like that. It's all about the property. So make sure you have an LLC in place, create one, and start like seasoning it, and get yourself a nice Dun and B number so you can start building that credit. And there's actually a video that talks about that. I will make sure I link it down below in this video. And if you're in a rush to want to learn about it myself, it's one that talks about commercial lending and stuff like that. Let me see. So the next question I have here is Ice Josh again. Are you ever going to buy an old house, old multifamily home, like the ones you built below 1960, if the numbers work? Yeah, in fact, actually, my parents' home, back when I started doing this whole real estate investing, without knowing I was doing real estate investing, so it was by accident. And so back in, I think it was in 2008 or 2009, it was right around the time where the crisis happened and the economy fell, everything else fell. And my parents around that time, they had money saved, and they wanted to look into some sort of like investments. They said, you know what, I want to make this money. I want to make a good use out of it. I don't want to just leave it in the bank, given how the economy is. We're not getting any money in interest rate. Like, can you do something about it? So I reached out to my team at the time. Well, they're still my team. Like, I still have good relationships. So my realtor, I said, this is what we're looking for. This is the area we want to work on. Can you find something? So the house that he found for us, was actually a foreclosed home back in, and it was built right around that time. I think a little bit older, maybe in the 1950s and stuff like that. I mean, this is New York City, so everything around here is old. And we found this house, and it looked very solid on the outside because it was one of those brick houses, but on the inside it looked like it was about to fall down. So a lot of lessons learned, a lot of headache. And I think my situation at the time allowed me to do that. I was working full time, but I was working full time from home. So it was the kind of job that allowed me to swing by real quickly, check on the projects, just check on the contractor to see if anything else was needed and the timeline. But because of my lack of experience, I don't think I picked the right contractor because this person just kept on delaying everything. And he will give us a quote, and then, well, but this did not include this, but then he wouldn't mention that at the beginning. And what was supposed to be a 3-month renovation turned out to be a 9-month renovation. And it was very, very, very stressful. And then you added to that was my parents not understanding what was going on because they were living overseas at the time. And I was kind of like the middleman trying to like just put down the fire, like just making everyone come together, come to an agreement. But again, I wouldn't change any of it. It was definitely a great lessons learned. But yes, to answer your question, it's great. Well, you can definitely buy something that is built from the 1960s and rehab it, but you will definitely have to bring in an inspector just to make sure that there's no foundation damage, there wasn't any roof damage. So that was the first thing I did. I followed my intuition because in my mind I was thinking, well, if there's any foundation damage, then the issue is going to be big. Like the house is going to fall apart. It doesn't matter how pretty I make it look on the inside out, right? And so the next question. Hello, Pablo. Hi, hello from California. Oh, Nimba, thank you for the support. $3. Great, thank you. Jasmine Oliva, hello from Connecticut. Hello, hi. Anybody has any more questions? We are 30 minutes in. Please feel free to just jot it in. I want to make sure I answer everyone. Let me see. Just scrolling down. So is everyone set? Like any more questions? All right, so my team just actually shared one with me, and it's actually about HELOCs versus cash or refi. Someone actually just sent an email now. And so this person is asking whether it's easier to get a cash or refi or whether it's easier to get a HELOC. And my answer to that will be, it all depends. It all depends on what is it that you're comfortable with, and it all depends on your current situation. So for example, a cash out refi can be done in any type of property. It can be done in your home, in a house, in a structure, and anything that has, you know, some sort of like housing structure to it. But a HELOC can only be done in a home. Like you have to reside in there. It has to be your primary residence. So two things to that. Not everyone is comfortable by putting their home on the line because, I mean, you could end up homeless and if you default on the payments. And then two, if you're like me, I'm renting. I don't personally own my primary residence. I actually rather use that money in my investments in other states and make sure I'm cash flowing at the end of the day. So when I do that, it automatically eliminates my possibilities to apply for a HELOC. I think some point in time during this year, somebody wrote that he or she was able to get access to a HELOC on a rental. So I'm not sure how that happened. Either maybe he was residing on one side of the house and therefore it was considered a home for him, for the applicant at that time, and he was able to get a HELOC out of it. But I haven't known or haven't met anyone in my whole investing career that actually provides a HELOC on a rental property. And if you guys know of somebody, feel free to share that information with everyone here in the channel because we would love to get in touch with that lender. So thank you for that question. And so, oh, okay. Sorry, my team was just like giving me cues. All right, so Ramesh, hi, thanks for joining. So you posted your question. I actually went over that earlier. So I see that you're joining just a little bit later right now. I want to be mindful of everyone who's actually submitted questions right now. So the replay will be available soon, shortly after we're done here today. But I did go over your question, Ramesh, in a very extensive and actually provided you with 3 different options. So you can definitely, you're more than welcome to go over the video again. And I think it's within the first 10 couple of minutes in the video. So feel free to tune into that. So MW, what is the easiest way to build credit to buy a property if I have bad credit? So I actually created an episode on that a couple of months ago, but in a nutshell, if you have really, really bad credit to the extent that you cannot even get approved for a credit card, the first thing you have to do is to apply for a secure credit card. And I'm going to provide you the link to that video, but underneath that, the video itself, it provides you, I think, up to 3 credit cards that provide secure lines. So basically the way it works with secure credit cards is that you either have to open a bank account at that particular bank and you have to deposit money. So whether call it $300, $500, or maybe $1,000, and then they're going to issue you a card that acts like an actual credit card that's going to help you build credit. So you will have to demonstrate a good behavior in terms of paying on time, not utilizing your credit above the 30% utilization and stuff like that. And if you plan to use your credit line above the 30% utilization, then make sure you pay it down until it hits 30. So let's say, for example, if your credit line is $1,000, but then you needed to make a charge for 500, that's already 50% of it. So you either can choose to pay down the entire 50%, but I do understand that not everyone sometimes have all $500. So if that's your case, then you can pay 200 just to bring it down to that 30% utilization and just keep it under a healthy pattern. So that way you can continue to do that over time. And then I believe within a year, you will start getting access to credit card offers in the mail, and make sure you do not throw those away. I love when they come my way because I open them all. The more credit cards you have, the better. The more chances you get to prove that you are very versatile and that you are intelligent and responsible in terms of managing your money. So that's one strategy. But if you already have credit, and let's say you are already maxing out on all of your credit lines, what you can do, but this is going to be an expensive one, but it's definitely worth it. It's worth the extra fees, is by applying to a personal loan, because personal loans fall into different buckets. So it will help you build a healthy mix of credit, which is, I believe is like 10 or 15% of your total credit score. And so you're going to take that personal loan and you're going to use that to pay down some of your credit card debt and bring it down to 30%. And once you bring that down to 30%, then you're good to go. Your credit will go up instantly, I will say within a month or so, maybe 30 to 40, if not 50 points sometimes, depending on how much money is it that you owe in your credit line. So hopefully that helped out to answer your question. Let me see. The next one is, do you have any knowledge regarding seller financing, and would you recommend it? Yes, I definitely recommend that. Actually, is one of the strategies I recommended Ramesh to work out. However, in order for you to work it out, it will need a lot of relationship building in between the seller and yourself. You have to come in agreement on the timeline that you are going to repay the money. And it's usually short term because no seller wants to be quote unquote married to you for the next 15 or 30 years. Most likely will be a 5-year engagement. And then the way it usually goes is that you pay interest and a little bit of the principal along the way with a major balloon payment at the end. So you have to do that. You have to engage a title agency because you need a third party to help you manage that in between, to make sure you have an audit trail, something that evidences that you're actually paying the seller. Otherwise, the seller could just simply say, hey, I haven't received any money at all. And so like, how do you evidence that? So always have a third party along in the way. Let me see, who else do you have? Okay, MW, I'm in California. Hello, Sky Ranks, I think. Hopefully, I'm not butchering your name. Does paying for a property with business credit make it harder to refinance at a bank since have a lot of credit card debt? So that, I don't think one has anything to do with the other, because if you're having business credit, it's apart from your personal credit. So there are various ways that can go about it. So you can use, let's say, a bunch of business credit cards and you've accumulated enough cash to buy that one property. You bought it cash, right? And you can actually refinance that house under your personal name, and then you get what they call the residential one, or you just simply, create an LLC, you put the house into that LLC, and you go and you apply for a business credit, business loan, business refinance, and you can use that money either to buy a new property, either to pay down that business credit card debt that you have. So I'll let you, be the judge of how you want to use that money. But if you are going to use that money, one thing I do tell you for sure is that do not spend it on items that are not growing or providing you any value back. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself a nice price if you work really hard, but don't do it yet while you're trying to grow your portfolio, you're trying to grow your wealth. It's just only a momentary sacrifice for the next 1 to 3 years. But then once that happens, then you can go and feel free to give yourself a nice break, but don't do it now while you're trying to grow. That's the only thing I ask. And then Ken is asking, I appreciate your advice. Don't use an LLC. Can I adapt eBay sales to some LLC to resonate that suggestion? I am disabled trying to invest my equity and help during my convalescence. I think you're going to have to reach out to an attorney for that. That definitely goes beyond my area expertise, and I definitely do not want to give you the wrong advice and put you in a situation that's going to not benefit you. Then Henry, thank you. How do you get real estate mentors? So a great way to go about it is by visiting local RIAs. So I mentioned this earlier. You just type in, you go to a website that's called meetup.com. And then in Meetup, you just type in local real estate club or local RIA, REIA. And once you do that, you will basically find a couple of clubs that are within your vicinity. So you get to decide how far you actually want to go out, depending on the miles that you're willing to drive. And just go and meet people, introduce yourself, learn a little bit about them, and you'll be surprised how many people want to help. Real estate investors do love to help people because they're happy people. If they're happy, they want to spread the love and they want to help other people to be happy as well. So definitely try that out. It's great. And the next one, Pablo. Hi, Pablo. Working full-time. Any good schools, training programs in California that you might think of in regards to real estate flipping? I will say check out the local RIAs again to see if they know of anything and see what mentors you can actually find along the way. But I don't invest in California, so I wouldn't be able to tell you that for sure. Another thing you can do is just to visit a title agency or reach out to a real estate attorney and see if they might know of any clients that they have that are willing to provide some type of mentorship in exchange of either labor or a fee. MW, thank you. Thank you for joining. Stephen, I was able to get a HELOC on a rental through Naval Federal CU. They will do up to 4 properties as long as you have less than 6 mortgages. There you go, Stephen. Thank you for sharing that information. So everybody, feel free to reach out to Stephen if Stephen is okay with it. So now he shared something very valuable with all of us. So thank you. Thank you. I didn't know that. So great stuff. And then Ramesh, thank you. Thank you for joining. And David, is that a strategy of yours to cash out refi to obtain another property? Yes, definitely. I love doing that. It gives you instant access to cash in a short period of time. So you pay down your mortgage aggressively with the rentals, and then if you can pay anything extra with your own income, try to do that. Not a lot of real estate investors do that strategy, but I'm lucky enough to have a job that gives me enough disposable income to reinvest that into the mortgages, and then couple with a couple of years of appreciation. And again, like I mentioned, appreciation should be a plus. It's not something that you should expect, but I've been lucky enough to get deals that have given me appreciation as well. So every 2 to 3 years, I go to a bank and I just basically refinance the cash out of it, and I use that money to continue to expand. So that's definitely my strategy. I see who else. Any other questions from anybody else? So we are at 41 minutes. So we have 20-ish more minutes to answer questions that anybody might have along the way. Anything else? Okay, so I'm hearing, so my team is letting me know that someone is asking a question about net worth and why is net worth so important. So net worth is more than just a simple number. It's more than just something that you will put in paper and say, hey, look at my net worth. That's great from a self-esteem perspective and an emotional perspective, because you get to see how much you're worth monetarily, but it has more than that. Like, it has more power than that. And basically when you go to a bank and you apply for loans, the first thing they're going to ask you to do is to fill out what they call a cash flow statement or a debt to income ratio, or some of it even call it the net worth sheet or statement. They all mean the same thing, potato, right? And in essence, what they want to see, coupled with your credit score, is that they also want to see that you are responsible and that you also know how to manage your debt, that you also manage your repayment of debt. Did you default on anything and stuff like that? So think of it as your financial resume. Like you will put a resume to go to a job, and people will base on your worth or your qualifications based on the content that you provide on that resume before you even get that call back. So it's the same thing with a financial statement with your net worth. The lender will go through that to even consider whether you are someone who's worthy of lending or not. So hopefully that helps your question. Thank you for submitting that. And then the next one, Aisha is just asking, what is your favorite area to invest? That's kind of a funny question. I don't really have a favorite area. It's as long as the numbers make sense. So if numbers make sense and I get to cash flow and I get to implement my strategy to do my cash out refi out of it, and if I am getting good qualified tenants as well, then that's definitely a go-to area for me. So I think I mentioned earlier in my videos, I like to do investments in Alabama and in Florida. So Alabama, I wound up in Alabama by mistake because I was helping my sister look for a rental, and it just happened to worked out that the property she was looking at happened to be for sale, and the numbers make sense. So I don't want to sort of like poo-poo in certain cities or like give more attention to other areas, because I think regardless of the states, you can find good deals. It's all a matter of where to look and whether the numbers make sense for you, because whatever strategy is working out for me might not necessarily work for you, because we all have different investment goals. Some people are investing for retirement. Some people are investing to get passive income today so they could spend more time with their loved ones or go traveling, or some people just simply don't care. They just want to put some wealth aside, and then they still love their jobs, they still love what they're doing, but they would like to have the option to be able to walk away from it in the event that they just simply get bored, or maybe the dynamics change in their careers and stuff like that. So definitely any state, it's possible. I don't do it in New York because I live in New York. That's a fact. And I'm too emotionally vested in New York. So I don't think I will be able to withdraw myself from thinking, with my heart in this case. Like, numbers have to make sense. So that's why I don't do it. And also because I'm open to the possibilities of just moving elsewhere. But so far, every place I visit, as much as I love it, I've always been drawn back to New York City. I love the diversity of it. I love my neighborhood. And that's why I stay. Plus my family's here as well. So that definitely helps a lot. So now the next question from Ken. Thank you again. I just moved the third of that to a lower rate, no rate card. Great. 15-month. How does it improve my credit by my matrix? So if you're shuffling debt from one credit card to another, that doesn't really change much to your credit. Like, it doesn't really impact it because you're owning the same amount of money. It's not like you move your debt, let's say, from the credit card bucket into a personal loan bucket, which falls into a different category. What this strategy helps you do is that you'll be able to repay or pay off that loan at a much faster rate, because now you don't have to worry about interest rates. So let's say, for example, if you owe $10,000 in a car that you've been carrying it or dragging it for a year maybe, and it has an APR of 24%, chances are your interest rates are somewhat between the $200 range. So imagine if you're paying $500 to pay off that car, half of it is gone towards interest rates. So if you shuffle that from an APR car to a zero APR car, and you're paying $500, whatever $500 you put in is going towards the repayment of that debt that you own in that credit card, and none of it is taken away from your actual for interest. So that's basically how it will help out, and in terms of like credit built out and stuff like that. But and then the faster you pay out that debt, then your credit is going to gradually start increasing. But it's a bit of a slower strategy, because you can only pay down so much every month, because you have other responsibilities like your mortgage debt if you have one, or maybe medical bills, maybe your regular utilities and stuff like that. So any strategy, it's great as long as you're paying it down. And again, it all comes down to what is it that you're looking for. Are you trying to sort of like prolong that? Because one thing that you have to keep in mind, I know we've been raised in a society where we think that debt is bad, and if we have a credit card, then we definitely want to repay that down. Carrying debt over is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And I'll tell you why. So this is when I get all excited because I really love this stuff. So just so you know, carrying a balance in a credit card to the next month is not always a bad thing. Paying interest on a credit card and carrying over to the next month is not always a bad thing. It always depends on what is it that you're looking for. So if your goal is to kill debt and just get rid of it and not have any debt, then yes, take a personal loan, pay it down, and just simply transfer whatever you can to a 0% credit card. But if what you're trying to do is to increase your credit line or to build credit for business purposes or for lending purposes, so you can get more access to more and more capital, you will want to carry that over. And the reason why is, remember, banks are here not to take your real estate away. Banks are here to make money off of you. So if you're having a 0% APR card and they're lending you money for you to do whatever is it that you want to do, right? In this case, to invest in real estate, and you're paying everything off at a 0%, that means the bank is not making any money. The most they're going to make out of you is maybe if the car has a yearly membership fee and whatever transaction fees that they're charging the merchants every time you swipe that card and use that card. But that means you as an individual, you as a borrower, you're not giving them any business in reality. They're not charging any money off of you in interest rate. So they don't have any incentive to really help you out. And that's one thing that I sort of like debated sharing earlier, because people will all be embraced differently. That is bad. That is bad. How do you think companies grow? Like every time a company goes public, Facebook, Amazon, Google, they all base everything off of debt and by providing a chunk of their equity in their own company because it helps them. And not only that, when you're having a business credit card and you're carrying over a balance to the next month, one, it gives you the ability to actually request more debt if you keep it under if you keep it somewhere in between 40 to 60% debt utilization. So I always like to keep it at the middle at 50. And then by growing over, like letting that balance carry it over to the next month, I let it carry it over a couple of months. And then I just call the bank and say, hey, I'm trying to make a large purchase. Would you be able to extend me another credit line, or basically just increase my current credit line so I can make that purchase? To them, in their mind, they're thinking, ching, 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 this is more money for me. So yes, of course, we're going to give you that extension. So again, it all goes down to what is that you're looking for. But I do tend to shy away from recommending something like that because it will require very strong discipline from your end. And you have to be very, very, very diligent in how to manage your money. So carrying interest rates over to the next month is not really a bad thing. And if you have an LLC in place and you're running a business, you can actually deduct those interest rates from your credit card as a business expense, which reduces your taxable income. So you're keeping more money in house. Like Robert Kiyosaki will say, it's not so much about how much money you're making, it's about how much money you're actually keeping within yourself. So definitely consider that into consideration. So we're at minute 51. We have 9 more minutes to go. So let me see what other questions you guys have. So I think I lost track of like the questions. Hold on, like just bear with me 1 second. Can just lower credit card. Okay, so Joe Irisari, hi, it's me again. Joe, quick question. I've been seeing these ads on Let Go to buy houses. They're selling them for 20,000 to 30,000. Is that a scam? I'm not sure myself. I haven't seen that ad. What I will say is that you do the proper diligence by researching them. There's a website. I can't remember in the top of my head, but I will definitely include that link down below. And I think that it's like the Consumer Bureau, something, where you actually can call them and verify whether their existence is actually legit or not. So definitely look it out. Try to go to forums like Quora or maybe, I don't know, NerdWallet, even BiggerPockets. They offer that type of information. So feel free to just go in there and check it out and see maybe someone's talking about that. If not, if you want to save some time, I will go straight to the Better Business Bureau. I don't remember for sure what's the name of it, but I know I've come across that website. And every time I come across a company that I'm not sure whether they're legit or not, that's the first thing I go and check. So I'm going to table that. I'm going to have my team to jot that down so I could definitely get back to you on that, and I'll provide the link down underneath the replay of the video. And okay, so Steven, Pablo, what inspired me to start this amazing, informative channel. So that's actually a very loaded question. There are many things, and I actually even created that video right at the beginning of my channel. There are a lot of reasons why I started doing this. So mainly it was my family. My family, my dad, my parents, they retire about 2 years ago. I'm horrible at keeping track of time. I think 2, 3 years ago. I can't recall for a fact, but a couple of months into, it doesn't get any easier. Sorry, I need to. Sorry. So a couple of months ago, not a month ago, a couple of months after he retired, he got very ill, and sorry, we were doing a lot of trips to the hospital. It was unsure whether he was gonna make it or not, and so we were taking turns. Lucky enough, I have a wonderful family, sisters that were very supportive. My boyfriend is actually in the back, so thank you. Family members that were actually very supportive, and that was sort of like a real wake-up call, because I realized that nothing is permanent, nothing will last forever. And on top of that, I was an empty suit. So I had this really high-paying job. I had a lot of money. But in reality, when it comes to think of it, I realized I couldn't even afford the funeral payments, because I was in so much debt trying to afford this fancy lifestyle that, in essence, I realized it's just so empty. Like, I was going to the nicest restaurants, hanging out with like what I thought, quote unquote, cool people, but I felt helpless. I couldn't do anything to help my dad, and I felt useless in a way. There was nothing I could do to help him feel better. And then on top of that, having to resume my day back at work, because if I don't go to work, then I'll get fired. And just having to share that pain with other people. And don't get me wrong, my teammates were great, but it's just, when you're going through so much pain, you don't want to talk about it. You just want to keep it to yourself. And so I realized, if I'm going through a situation like that, and I'm, quote unquote, this person who has this awesome job that pays well, imagine all the single moms out there, all the single dads out there, all of these families who don't have the resources, and they have to work 2-3 jobs just to make it by and be able to help their families. It's just, even thinking about it, it's painful. So if it was painful for me, and I, quote unquote, have the resources, imagine for the people who don't have the resources. And like I said, when you are a real estate investor, when you are happy, when you are financially happy and comfortable with yourself, you actually want to give back to the community. You want to help other people out, because if you help other people out, that makes this a better world for you. And therefore, it comes down to the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I find it amazing how sometimes people look the other way if they see a child in trouble, and not having enough. Guess what's going to happen when you have your own child and your children, whatever is it, the number that you want to aim for, once they grow old, guess who's going to have to deal with that troubled child who now is an adult? It's your own children. So we're all responsible for making this a better world. And this is my way to do this. And also my boyfriend, he's great. He actually inspired me to do this, because, to be honest, I'm not a camera person. I am the kind that usually shies away from group pictures and stuff like that. I don't know. I like to keep for myself. But if I know that my story can help inspire other people and help them do better things, bigger things, then I'm all down for it. And it seems like I've achieved my goal. I continue to achieve my goal, because the amount of messages that I've been getting from everybody, from emails, people sharing their stories about how they were able to buy their first homes, how they were able to get their first investment property, it's just life-changing for me. And it's more fulfilling than anything else I've ever done. My dad is all great. For those who are wondering, he's doing great. And he's running around like a maniac. He's the kind of guy that cannot sit still. He's driving my mom crazy. crazy. My mom is retired as well. She's happy doing her vegetable garden in the background and in the backyard. Every time I go visit her, she bombards me with fresh organic tomatoes and cucumbers and whatever it is that she's growing in the backyard. So thank you so much for asking. We're coming to the end. I'm going to go through 2 more questions. It's minute 58, but I've been given so much support from you guys that I love this. So thank you. So let me just go through 2 more, and whatever questions I am not able to get through, I will definitely table those either to create a new episode or just simply create another live session when I have more time. I would like to do this once a month. I would love to do it every week, but unfortunately my bandwidth doesn't allow me to do so. So I really appreciate you understanding and your support again. But let's just get to the last 2 questions and we're going to call it a day, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay. So one thing, let me see. Reselling, ever do, make sure never. Okay. So sorry, I've been getting so many questions. I'm losing track of it. So bear with me one sec. I just moved to the 3rd, and then Joe, David, is that what? If that was a question for me, yes. But okay, so Steven is answering someone else's question, so I'll let him take care of that. What inspired me to do the channel? Okay, I answer. Ice Josh, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge. How often and well will you be live video like this? Okay, I think I just answered your question by mistake, so it's good to go. I will try to do this as often as I can. But again, I am limited in time. So thank you for your understanding, but I will try my very best to at least do this once a month so that everyone can come in and continue to build this community and connect to one another. So it seems like my goal is working. I am informing everybody, and at the same time, people are connecting through the chat and asking questions. So that's great. And then Steven, oh, Paulo, don't worry. It's good. It's just, it happens, everybody, we all go through this. That's why we all have to find our whys. Investing in real estate, it's great, but at the same time, it's very stressful. You will want to throw the towel. There were countless times I wanted to throw the towel. It's fast paced. You deal with, there's so many moving parts about this. And, but at the end of the day, it works out. It's great. So, I want you guys to know that we're here to provide as much help as we can, like not just me, but my team overall here. We want to make this a safe haven. We want to make this a strong community where everyone can feel safe to come in and drop a question and then just simply get all the questions answered and hopefully help you walk your path towards that financial freedom that you're looking for. So please don't apologize. Just do one thing for me. Ask yourself, ask your inner self, what is your why? What is it that you want to achieve out of this? And I'm sure it's more than just, I want to travel around the world and I just want to have a nice fancy car. I am pretty sure you guys are not that shallow. That's great. It just comes along with it. But ultimately, it all comes down to happiness. It all comes down to wanting to feel love, wanting to spend time and be there for the ones that you care about the most. So in this case, it was my family and it was my future family. I don't have any children, but I did envision myself going through something similar. Imagine if I have a kid and then my kid gets sick and I have to go to work or maybe find a nanny to take care of my child. Like it's not how I envision that to be. And I really, really have a strong admiration for the parents who can actually do that, because I'll be like one of those moms that would be crying at work all the time if my child was sick. Like it's just, no, too much. This live tribe. Oh, thank you. Live tribe. Thank you, Paulo, for the kudos. So it's 1 hour and 2 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I do, unfortunately, have to call this the end of it because I have other things that I have to take care of. I have people that I need to visit. So thank you again for making the time for joining this live Q&A session. It was definitely very fulfilling. I am so happy I was able to help everybody answer your questions. And again, if you do have more and more questions, you have my email. Do not hesitate to reach out. Just send me an email and I could either answer them one more time throughout the live Q&A, or I can just simply create another episode on that and make sure everyone gets exposure to this type of information. We're here to help everybody. So Jay, thank you you for taking the time with us. Thank you so much for joining as well. David, thank you. And I think that's it. I will see you guys hopefully sooner rather than later. And thank you so much for the support. I'm very happy that everyone was able to make it. Thank you. Hi, Maggie. Thank you. Aisha, thank you. So everybody, bye-bye. Take care.